Motorcycle clubs operate in over 60 countries worldwide, but only 10 nations have clubs powerful enough to fight wars that end civilians, negotiate territorial agreements with governments, or survive decades of targeted law enforcement. This is the definitive ranking of the most powerful motorcycle club countries in the world, measured by violence, organization, criminal reach, and their ability to challenge state authority. 10. Brazil. It was July the 12th, 2015, when multiple members of Outlaws MC, Brazil's largest outlaw motorcycle club with between 2,000 and 8,000 members, were attending a motorcycle event. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. In no time, one member of Outlaws MC went down and was pronounced dead before reaching the hospital. Several others were critically injured. So the police arrived and began their investigation. But there was something strange about the incident. When investigators questioned witnesses, no one came forward. No one saw anything. The investigation stalled and no arrests were made. But there was a reason for the silence. Outlaws MC knew who attacked them, and they would settle the dispute themselves without involving law enforcement. That is how territorial disputes are handled in Brazilian outlaw motorcycle club culture. But Outlaws MC isn't the only motorcycle club operating in Brazil. The country has over 80,000 members of motorcycle clubs. Brazilian clubs are involved in drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, extortion, assault, and control of motorcycle festival security. Outlaws MC, founded in São Paulo in 1989, is the largest outlaw club in Latin America. Asfalto MC operates around 50,000 members nationwide. Hells Angels Brazil, established in Rio de Janeiro in 1984, runs 400 patched members across São Paulo, Brasília, Salvador, and Manaus. What makes Brazil powerful is its position as the gateway for international motorcycle clubs entering South America. In 1984, when Hells Angels established their Rio de Janeiro chapter as the 54th charter worldwide, they became the first international outlaw motorcycle club to operate in South America. By that time, Brazil was dominated by powerful drug cartels. Primeiro Comando da Capital, PCC, and Comando Vermelho controlled trafficking routes worth billions. Most assumed American motorcycle club culture couldn't survive in that environment. But they were wrong. Hells Angels changed their strategy, and instead of competing with cartels, they embedded themselves into the existing criminal infrastructure. Thus, they thrive by working alongside cartels rather than against them. Inspired by Brazil's success, international clubs expanded into Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, Paraguay, and Bolivia. Brazilian outlaw clubs had other streams of income too. They control motorcycle festival security, own legitimate businesses, and operate drug distribution networks. They function in one of the world's most violent organized crime environments, working alongside cartels that generate billions annually. Number 9. South Africa. South Africa offered something no other African nation could provide to international motorcycle clubs: unregulated access to ephedrine, the primary precursor chemical for methamphetamine production. South African pharmacies sold ephedrine with minimal oversight. No prescription requirements, no tracking. This, coupled with weak weapon regulations, allowed clubs to arm manufacturing labs with military-grade firepower. The country's regulatory gaps created the perfect environment for industrial-scale drug manufacturing capable of supplying international markets. When Hells Angels South Africa established their Johannesburg chapter in August 1993, they became the first international outlaw motorcycle club to operate in Africa. The club expanded rapidly with charters in the West Rand, Durban, and Cape Town by 1998. Besides the Hells Angels, the Nomads MC operates as one of the country's most influential independent clubs. In total, over 100,000 registered members of motorcycle clubs now operate across South Africa. But what the Hells Angels found was more valuable than expansion territory. In 1997, Hells Angels South Africa began manufacturing methamphetamine in mass quantities. Not small batch production, but industrial-scale operations designed for international drug routes. They embedded themselves in Johannesburg's Bouncer Mafia, a criminal network controlling the city's nightclub industry, that provided legitimate business fronts and distribution channels. Peter Conway, president of the Nomads chapter and member of the Filthy Few hit squad, led the expansion. Conway and his crew, Rob Reynolds and Michael Jethro Hall, were allegedly South Africa's first real manufacturers of crystal methamphetamine. They controlled nightclub security, maintained connections to corrupt law enforcement, and dominated Gauteng province's drug trade while operating beneath legitimate business covers. By November 1999, an international smuggling network was operational. South African Hells Angels were speed mailing methamphetamine hidden inside stuffed toys to Flagstaff, Arizona. The drug, nicknamed South African Brown, was distributed across multiple U.S. states through established Hells Angels networks, moving products worth millions annually. The smuggling ring operated for 2 years until the DEA uncovered it in 2001. The operation had grown too large to hide. On November 8, 2002, the South African Police Service organized crime units executed coordinated raids across Johannesburg. 4 Hells Angels were arrested, including Edward Jacobs, the president of the Johannesburg chapter. 3 members were caught operating a clandestine drug laboratory in Sandton. Police seized unlicensed shotguns, rifles, handguns with silencers, ammunition, methcathinone, daga, cocaine, MDMA tablets, manufacturing chemicals and equipment, and 3 stolen superbikes worth approximately 1 million rand. Russia. Russia has a long history of the government using organized crime groups as tools for political control. From Soviet-era prison gangs to modern criminal networks, the Kremlin has maintained relationships with outlaws who can operate beyond official state channels. What makes Russia's motorcycle club scene unique is how openly this arrangement functions. The government doesn't just tolerate outlaw clubs, it funds them, honors them, and deploys them for military operations. Russia has approximately 150,000 members of motorcycle clubs nationwide. The prominent one is the Night Wolves MC. It was founded in Moscow in 1989 by Alexander the Surgeon Zaldastanov. It has around 5,000 members across 45 chapters worldwide. The relationship between President Vladimir Putin and the Night Wolves started in 2009. Putin rode with the Night Wolves at rallies. The motorcycle club transformed into a symbol of Russian patriotism and military power. Soon, the government money started flowing. In 2013, Putin awarded Zaldastanov the Order of Honor for Youth Patriotic Education. Between 2013 and 2015, the Night Wolves received over 1 million in state grants to stage shows promoting Russian nationalism, Orthodox Christian values, and anti-Western ideology. Zaldastanov was chosen as a torchbearer for the 2014 Sochi Olympics. Even the Night Wolves flag was carried to the International Space Station. Then came the real test of their relationship. In late February 2014, Alexander Zaldastanov arrived in Sevastopol, Crimea, Ukraine, with members of his motorcycle club. Within hours, they were manning roadblocks on every major route into the city. The Night Wolves weren't there for a bike show. They were there to help Russia take Crimea from Ukraine. Night Wolves members worked alongside unmarked Russian soldiers, controlling access to the peninsula's strategic port city. They defended government buildings and collected intelligence. In March 2014, they stormed a Ukrainian naval facility. Zaldastanov personally coordinated the confiscation of weapons alongside Russian forces. On March 18, 2014, Russia officially annexed Crimea and made it part of Russian territory. Putin awarded Zaldastanov the Medal for the Return of Crimea for his role in the operation. After Crimea's annexation, the authorities in Sevastopol granted the Night Wolves 266.5 hectares of land at a 99% discount. Property worth millions sold to the club for approximately $26,350. The club also received government contracts to provide security and patriotic education to Crimean youth. In December 2014, the United States sanctioned the Night Wolves for attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure and recruitment of separatist fighters. Canada and the European Union followed with sanctions and travel bans. The Night Wolves proved that motorcycle clubs could become state militias. They showed authoritarian governments how to use motorcycle clubs as deniable assets for violence and political control. Number 7. Japan. Japan has always maintained an image as one of the world's most law-abiding societies. Low crime rates, respectful citizens, strict social order. But beneath that surface, Japan developed a motorcycle gang culture unlike anywhere else in the world. International motorcycle clubs like Hells Angels sought to establish operations in Japan. In April 1985, 20 American and British Hells Angels members traveled to Tokyo to assess a Japanese biker group for potential membership. They ultimately decided against granting them a charter. Japan's cultural barriers, entrenched Yakuza control over organized crime, and the already established Bosozoku gang system made it impossible for Western motorcycle clubs to gain a foothold. So instead of Hells Angels or Bandidos controlling Japanese streets, Bosozoku filled that role. These weren't traditional motorcycle clubs with adult members and international chapters. They were teenage motorcycle gangs that operated with military precision, fed recruits to Japan's massive organized crime syndicates, and controlled 80% of all serious juvenile crime nationwide. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in 1999, when 1,000 Bosozoku members, Japan's notorious motorcycle gangs, arrived at Hiroshima's annual Ibisu Matsuri festival, armed with rocks, Molotov cocktails, wooden swords, and metal pipes. When police attempted to disperse them, the gangs refused. Officers moved forward with shields. The Bosozoku attacked. For 3 days and nights, running battles shut down entire neighborhoods. By 1999, Bosozoku controlled 80% of all serious crimes committed by young people in Japan: murder, assault, extortion, and robbery. At their peak in 1982, Japan had 42,510 Bosozoku members operating across hundreds of gangs in nationwide federations. But raw numbers don't explain Japan's power. Japanese motorcycle gangs functioned as the official recruitment pipeline for the Yakuza, Japan's massive organized crime syndicates. This relationship between motorcycle gangs and the Yakuza has its roots in post-war Japan. When World War II ended, kamikaze pilots and veterans trained under strict military discipline turned to motorcycles. The speed and risk recreated the adrenaline they'd experienced in combat. These first groups in the late 1940s and early 1950s called themselves Kaminari Zoku, Thunder Tribes. By the 1960s and 1970s, younger riders joined. The demographics shifted from veterans to teenagers. Japanese gangs operated with Bushido warrior codes and military discipline. They wore uniforms modeled on kamikaze pilot gear, W featuring rising sun flags and kanji slogans. Strict hierarchies controlled hundreds of members. By 1982, membership had peaked at 42,510 across gangs like Black Emperor, Fascist, and Weatherman. Female gangs like White Snake Ladies and Black Rose Racing operated alongside them. They controlled the streets of Japan through coordinated operations. Masked rides involved 100 bikers moving in formation at 7 kilometers per hour, blocking entire cities. The most significant operations involved 600 participants with designated roles, planned routes, and coordinated timing. The Yakuza needed recruits trained in violence, loyal to the hierarchy, and willing to follow orders. By the 1990s, approximately 1/3 of all Yakuza recruits came from Bosozoku ranks. Gangs paid monthly tributes to Yakuza bosses, hundreds to thousands of dollars. In return, the Yakuza provided protection and employment in operations needing deniability. At age 20, the best Bosozoku members received official recruitment offers from the Yakuza. From 1996 to 2000, serious Bosozoku crime more than doubled. New Year's Eve raids shut down entire cities. They attacked police stations and coordinated assaults on rival gangs. By 1999, they controlled 80% of serious juvenile crime nationwide. But that power made them a target. In 2004, Japan passed revised road traffic laws aimed at curbing Bosozoku. Police could arrest entire groups for reckless driving without proving individual violations. Bosozoku banishment ordinances made wearing uniforms grounds for arrest. In 2013, police reclassified Bosozoku as pseudo-yakuza organizations, applying organized crime laws to teenage gang members. Membership alone became criminal. Soon after, the membership dropped to 1/6 of its peak. By 2015, only 6,771 members remained. By 2020, rallies that once drew thousands attracted 53 members. Japan accomplished something unprecedented: the complete elimination of motorcycle gang culture through systematic legal warfare in 3 decades. They became so powerful that the government had no choice but to eradicate them. Australia. Australia is the world's largest island nation, geographically isolated from major drug trafficking routes that feed European and North American markets. But that isolation created something unique. Australian motorcycle clubs didn't wait for international organizations to arrive and dominate. They built their own. The Comanchero Motorcycle Club, founded in Sydney in 1966, and the Rebels MC, established in Brisbane in 1969, became so powerful that they eventually expanded internationally. Australia became the only country where homegrown motorcycle clubs operate alongside international organizations like Hells Angels, Bandidos, Finks, and Mongols. Australia hosts approximately 3,500 patched members of motorcycle clubs across 35 clubs. The Rebels MC operates around 2,000 members, making them the largest club in the country. The Comanchero MC has approximately 300 members across chapters in Western Australia, Victoria, and South Australia. The Bandidos have 45 chapters with up to 400 members. Hells Angels Australia operates approximately 250 members across 14 chapters. The conflict that would define Australian motorcycle club culture started with internal power struggles. Comanchero President William Jock Ross ran his club with extreme authoritarian control. He was a military enthusiast who required members to engage in weekly paramilitary drills. He formed an elite strike force of especially tough members. Many Comancheros resented his leadership style. In 1983, a second Comanchero chapter formed under Anthony "Snotty" Spencer, who challenged Ross's authority. The tensions escalated throughout the year. Spencer and his followers eventually visited several outlaw clubs in America and contacted Bandidos national president Ronnie Hodge. Following correspondence, Spencer received approval to establish the first Australian Bandidos chapter and to serve as its national president. The new Bandidos members then burned their Comanchero colors in a ceremonial act. Ross and the remaining Comancheros considered the defection a betrayal. Clubhouse attacks and violence continued through 1984. In August, Ross and Spencer allegedly declared war in a phone call. September 2, 1984, Father's Day in Australia. The Viking Tavern in Milpera, a southwestern suburb of Sydney, was hosting a British motorcycle club swap meet scheduled to start at 10 a.m. Motorcycle enthusiasts and their families gathered to look at bikes. Around 1 p.m., 19 armed Comanchero members entered the car park and took up positions in hiding. Using walkie-talkies for communication, Ross intended to stand in the open to give the appearance that he was alone. He planned to draw the Bandidos into a pincer movement. When the Bandidos arrived, both sides opened fire in the car park. The gunfight lasted several minutes. 7 people died. 4 Comanchero members, John MacArthur, Ivan Rumchek, Robert Carroll, and Ray Campbell. 2 Bandidos members, Gregory Shadow Campbell and William Mario Chianter. And 14-year-old Leanne Walters, a local girl who was selling raffle tickets at the event. 28 others were wounded. The massacre was witnessed by dozens of civilians, including families with children. Police arrested 43 people. The trial became one of the largest in Australian history. Commonwealth Games gold medalist boxer Philip Knuckles McElwain was found guilty only of a fray. In 1989, 3 Comancheros appealed their murder convictions, with the charge reduced to manslaughter. In 1992, Ross was the last to be released after serving 5 years and 3 months. The Milpera massacre led to significant changes in gun laws. The New South Wales Firearms and Dangerous Weapons Act 1973, which allowed registered owners the right to carry firearms in public, was amended to require a good reason for the issue of a license. The violence continued into the next generation. By 2008, tensions between Hells Angels and Comanchero had escalated through tit-for-tat attacks. In February 2009, an explosion tore apart the facade of the Hells Angels City Crew Clubhouse at Petersham. 4 men wearing Hells Angels colors kneecapped a 33-year-old man near a Christian motorcycle show at Silverwater. The violence was building toward another public confrontation. Finally, on March 22, 2009, at Sydney Airport, Terminal 3, Hells Angels National President Derek Wainohu and Comanchero National President Mahmoud Mick Howie were both on Qantas Flight 430 from Melbourne to Sydney. During the flight, the two exchanged words and glares. Both sent text messages to members on the ground, calling for backup at Sydney Airport. When the plane landed at 1:30 p.m., reinforcements were waiting on both sides. 12 Comanchero members confronted 5 Hells Angels and their associates near Gate 5. The groups exchanged abuse and threats, pushing and shoving each other. Anthony Zervas, a 29-year-old associate of the Hells Angels through his brother Peter, had driven from Wollongong after receiving the call from Wainohu. Someone allegedly shouted, "He's got a nug," Bicky slang for gun spelled backwards. The Comanchero ripped metal bollards from the terminal floor and used them as weapons. They attacked with knuckle dusters, scissors, a baton, and a broom handle sharpened to a point. Anthony Zervas was beaten with a 17-kilogram metal bollard and stabbed in the chest and abdomen. Zervas died at the scene. Police arrested 6 Comanchero members. In November 2011, Mahmoud Mick Howie was found guilty of murder. The conviction was later overturned on appeal. Howie pleaded guilty to manslaughter in March 2015 and received a minimum sentence of 3.5 years. In February 2018, Howie was shot dead at age 37 while sitting in his car outside a gym in Rockdale. In 2012, Australia passed anti-bikie legislation banning entry to anyone showing patches, jewelry, or items representing specific outlaw motorcycle clubs. Queensland enacted the criminal law, Criminal Organisations Disruption Amendment Act 2013. By 2015, South Australia declared 10 groups, including the Bandidos, as criminal organizations under anti-gang laws. Australia developed some of the strictest anti-motorcycle club laws in the world. The Comanchero expanded to New Zealand, Serbia, and Bosnia. The rebels became the largest outlaw club in the country. Australian clubs moved operations to Southeast Asia. They continue trafficking drugs worth millions into Australia from offshore bases, using the same geographic isolation that once limited their access to international markets as protection from law enforcement cooperation. Number 5. United Kingdom. The United Kingdom operates over 700 active motorcycle clubs with approximately 10,000 members nationwide. The Blue Angels, founded in Glasgow in 1963, are the oldest outlaw club in Europe. On the other hand, Hells Angels, England coordinates international drug trafficking operations across the continent. These clubs control legitimate industries, security companies, construction firms, and motorcycle festivals, generating millions in annual revenue. They've embedded themselves so deeply into regional economies that shutting them down would collapse entire industries. The Blue Angels controlled Glasgow with international chapters and organized crime connections across Europe. By 2018, they had systematically absorbed smaller clubs like Road Mutts and Tribe through intimidation. When clubs refused to join, the Blue Angels sent Ian Ewing. Ewing was a 44-year-old full-patch member of the Blue Angels with a reputation for violent enforcement. He handled territorial disputes that couldn't be negotiated. In northeast Scotland, the Blue Angels hit resistance. There, the Nomads MC had controlled Aberdeen since 1966. In September 2018, Cullen, Banffshire. 4 nomads were riding through what they considered neutral territory. Colin Sutherland, John Sutherland, Nicky Syret, and Edward Forrest, all patched members. Coincidentally, Earlier that day, the Blue Angels had been assaulted by unknown attackers. Ewing suspected the nomads were involved. What the four riders didn't know was that Ian Ewing was watching them. And this time, the violent Blue Angels enforcer wasn't interested in conversation. Ewing accelerated his car and rammed the motorcycles. Riders crashed to the pavement. Before they could recover, Ewing and other Blue Angels members attacked with hammers and baseball bats. All four nomads had to be airlifted to the hospital with severe injuries. Police arrested Ewing immediately. During the trial, prosecutors proved the attack was premeditated revenge for the earlier assault on Blue Angels members. Ian Ewing was convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to 7 years in prison. The attack wasn't about personal revenge, it was about protecting revenue. Motorcycle festivals across the UK generate millions annually. Vendors pay fees to operate. Security contracts worth hundreds of thousands go to connected firms. Sponsorships flow through club-controlled businesses. The Blue Angels had been absorbing smaller clubs specifically to expand control over these festivals. When the nomads refused to surrender Aberdeen's festival operations, the Blue Angels eliminated the obstacle. Ian Ewing served for 7 years. The Blue Angels kept operating. They absorbed the cost of losing one enforcer and continued territorial expansion into northeast Scotland. British clubs operate as criminal enterprises with business infrastructure and legitimate economic power. They calculate costs, eliminate competition, and treat violence as a business expense. Number 4. Denmark. Denmark is a small Nordic country with a population of 6 million, one of the world's highest standards of living, and a reputation for social stability. But in the 1990s, Denmark became home to one of the most violent motorcycle club wars in European history. A war that ended not through police intervention, but through a formal peace agreement that divided the entire country into controlled territories. The conflict began in 1993 when Bandidos MC Denmark was founded, immediately challenging Hells Angels' control over Danish territory. What followed were years of escalating violence. Shootings on city streets, stabbings in public spaces, bombings that shook residential neighborhoods. By 1997, 11 murders and 74 attempted murders had been committed across Scandinavia. March 10, 1996, marked one of the war's most brazen attacks. Bandidos members were returning from a weekend in Helsinki and walked through Copenhagen Airport. 6 Hells Angels members and associates were waiting for them in the terminal. They opened fire in the middle of the airport, wounding 3 Bandidos and killing Uffe Larsson with multiple gunshots as travelers scattered in panic. Police arrested 6 Hells Angels members. They were convicted and sentenced to a combined 53 years in prison, with one receiving a life sentence. But the airport shooting wasn't even close to the worst incident. 3 months later, on a spring evening in 1996, Bandidos members launched a rocket-propelled grenade into a Hells Angels clubhouse during a party attended by over 150 people. 2 people died in the explosion. Louis Linde Nielsen, a Hells Angels prospect, was killed instantly. Jana Krohn, a local single mother who had accepted an invitation to the event, also died. 19 others were wounded, including the Hells Angels Denmark national president. The Danish government responded by passing emergency legislation within months. The Rocker Act allowed police to evict bikers from their clubhouses and ban motorcycle clubs from owning or renting property. But the violence continued through 1997. The war seemed endless. Then, on September 25, 1997, something unexpected happened. Big Jim Tindon, president of Bandidos' European chapters, and Hells Angels Europe president Bent Blondie Svani Nielsen, sat down in front of Danish TV news cameras. They signed a peace agreement and shook hands. What they announced publicly was a ceasefire. What they negotiated privately was something far more significant. They had created a secret territorial agreement dividing Denmark's major cities into Hells Angels territories, Bandidos territories, and shared areas. The war ended, not through police victory, not through arrests. 2 motorcycle clubs had carved up the country like corporate executives dividing market share. Denmark now operates differently from most countries on this list. The Hells Angels MC Denmark and Bandidos MC Denmark control entire territories through formal agreements that function like contracts. In 2013, 16 years after the original deal, they renewed the territorial divisions with a new public agreement. These boundaries dictate who controls which cities and regions. Both clubs have built sophisticated organizational structures. The Hells Angels created AK-81 as a puppet club in 2007. Members don't even need motorcycles to join. They just need to be willing to work for the Angels. Bandidos created Mexican Teamwork in 2013 as their equivalent. These puppet clubs handle street-level operations while maintaining plausible deniability for the parent organizations. 3. Germany. Germany sits at the heart of Europe with direct access to Eastern European weapon markets, Mediterranean drug routes, and the continent's wealthiest consumer base. German motorcycle clubs operate in a nation where strict law enforcement coexists with massive organized crime revenue streams running through red light districts worth hundreds of millions annually. Germany hosts an estimated 300,000 motorcycle club members. The Hells Angels MC Germany operates approximately 1,000 members across dozens of chapters. Bandidos MC Germany controls significant territory in the north and west. Outlaws MC operates throughout the country. The homegrown Gremium MC competes for control of nightclubs, drug distribution networks, prostitution rings, and extortion rackets. Nekati Arabachi, a Turkish-German Hells Angels member, rose through Cologne's red light district in the 1990s and built a prostitution network spanning Frankfurt to the Ruhr region. German police arrested him in 2002. After his arrest, prosecutors charged him with human trafficking and racketeering. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison in 2004. Arabachi continued running brothels from his prison cell. He even hired a contract killer to assassinate the prosecutor who convicted him. Police discovered the plot through bugged prison visiting rooms. Germany finally deported Arabachi to Turkey in 2007. From there, he became president of Hells Angels MC Nomads Turkey and emerged as a potential European leader after the 2013 arrest of Frank Hanbuth. Spain issued an EU-wide arrest warrant for Arabachi in 2015. Nekati Arabachi now operates freely from Monaco, while European prosecutors remain powerless to touch him. German clubs don't just run sophisticated operations, they fight wars. What German police called the Rocker War erupted in 2009 when tensions between Hells Angels and Bandidos exploded into open warfare across German cities. August 2009 brought the first major killing. Berlin Bandidos president Michael B., a 33-year-old who had defected from the Hells Angels, was stabbed and shot to death in Hohenschönhausen. September 2009 saw another execution. A defector was walking home from the supermarket carrying groceries when someone knocked him down from behind, stabbed him in the thigh, then shot him in the back. The bullet ripped through his heart. He staggered 100 meters before collapsing on the street. October 2009 continued the bloodshed. A Bandidos member was executed with a headshot in Duisburg's red light district. The same month, police raided Flensburg and discovered a weapons depot containing explosives, 5 machine guns, 10 shotguns, pump guns, revolvers, pistols, and massive ammunition stockpiles. Through 2010, the violence escalated further. Knife and machete fights resulted in near amputations of limbs. Masked men showed up at the Bandidos Berlin headquarters at 5 a.m. with flamethrowers and burned the building to the ground while firing shots. On New Year's Eve in Dusseldorf, a street battle between the clubs left a bystander with a bullet in his chest. The war reached its peak on January 10, 2014. 13 men walked into Wet Café Expect, a betting parlor in Berlin's Reinickendorf district. They were partially masked and moved through the front door with purpose in the middle of the afternoon. Inside, people sat at slot machines, feeding euros into the machines. None of them noticed the men spreading out across the room. None of them saw the guns. The 13 men weren't there for money. They were there for one person, a 26-year-old man sitting in the corner. He looked up just as they surrounded him. Surveillance cameras captured everything that happened next. The men opened fire and shot the target multiple times as customers screamed and dove for cover. By the time police arrived, the victim was dead on the floor. Police arrested 10 Hells Angels members within days. In October 2019, 8 of them were sentenced to life imprisonment. Kadir Padir, the 35-year-old chapter chief, was convicted of incitement to murder. The execution wasn't about territory or drugs. The victim had committed the ultimate betrayal in German motorcycle club culture. He had switched from Hells Angels to Bandidos. Then something unexpected happened, revealing what German motorcycle clubs truly value. In 2010, Kadir Padir orchestrated a mass defection. 70 Bandidos members abandoned their club and joined the Hells Angels. This happened after years of vicious violence between the two organizations. Former enemies who had been trying to kill each other with machetes suddenly wore the same patches and operated together. According to one crime investigator, with that history, the fact that these guys are now joining forces as if nothing happened shows that, bottom line, all that matters to them is money. The merger made strategic sense. German motorcycle clubs control nightclub doors across major cities. When you control the doors, you control who gets in. When you control who gets in, you control the drug distribution to everyone inside. The Bandidos who defected brought something valuable with them. They had contact details for the industry's most important people. The Hells Angels gained not just members, but intelligence networks that would take years to build independently. German motorcycle clubs operate with a level of public violence that most countries won't tolerate. They execute rivals in betting parlors with customers present. They stockpile military-grade weapons in residential areas. They use flamethrowers in neighborhoods at 5 a.m. They run international criminal networks so sophisticated that European arrest warrants mean nothing when members can relocate to countries that won't extradite. And when wars between clubs become too costly, they'll merge former enemies into a single organization if it protects revenue. 8 people received life sentences for the January 2014 execution. The surveillance footage was played in court. And the Hells Angels kept operating, kept recruiting, kept controlling nightclubs and drug networks across one of Europe's wealthiest countries. Number 2, Canada. Canada shares the world's longest undefended border with the United States, providing direct access to the most profitable drug market on the planet. The country's vast geography, decentralized law enforcement across provinces, and proximity to major American cities created perfect conditions for motorcycle clubs to build trafficking networks worth hundreds of millions annually. What happened in Quebec in the 1990s proved that Canadian clubs could operate with resources and violence that rivaled traditional organized crime families. Canada hosts an estimated 200,000+ members of motorcycle clubs. The Hells Angels operate 34 chapters across the country, with over 1,200 full-patch members. Bacchus MC controls territory in Atlantic Canada. Outlaws MC maintains chapters in Ontario. The conflict that would define Canadian motorcycle club power started in 1994. Salvatore Cazzeda, founder of Rock Machine MC, was arrested for attempting to import 11 tons of cocaine worth $275 million with Rock Machine temporarily leaderless, Maurice "Mom" Boucher, president of the Hells Angels Montreal chapter, saw an opportunity. Boucher issued an ultimatum to Rock Machine: surrender your drug business or face bloodshed. Rock Machine refused. July 13, 1994. 3 Rock Machine members walked into a downtown Montreal motorcycle shop and shot Pierre Daoust, a member of the Death Riders, a Hells Angels support club. The next day, Rock Machine attempted to kill another Hells Angels member. Hours later, police arrested several Rock Machine members trying to blow up a Hells Angels clubhouse with explosives and detonators. Within weeks, every Hells Angels chapter in Quebec voted to join the war. Boucher created the Nomads chapter, an elite mobile unit with no fixed territory, composed of veteran members explicitly selected for their willingness to kill. Nomads membership required proof. You needed to commission murders that demonstrated absolute loyalty. Through 1995, the violence escalated across Montreal. Shootings happened in broad daylight on busy streets. Car bombs exploded in residential neighborhoods. The war turned Canada's second-largest city into a battlefield. August 9, 1995. 11-year-old Daniel Desrochers was playing outside near a Jeep parked on a Montreal street. He didn't know the vehicle was rigged with explosives. He didn't think it was a bomb meant for rival bikers. The bomb detonated. Daniel died 4 days later in the hospital. Public outrage exploded across Quebec. By the time the war ended in 2002, 162 people were dead, including 9 civilians. There were 84 bombings, 130 cases of arson, and 20 disappearances across Quebec. Boucher didn't stop after Daniel's death. He escalated. In 1997, Boucher ordered something unprecedented in Canadian organized crime. He ordered the murder of Quebec prison guards. And on June 26, 1997, when prison guard Diane Levine was walking home from her shift at Montreal's Bordeaux jail, a man on a motorcycle shot her dead. In a separate incident, on September 8, 1997, prison guards Pierre Rondeau and Robert Corriveau were ambushed while driving a prison transport van. Rondeau was killed. Corriveau survived. Boucher's strategy was calculated. If prison guards weren't safe, the entire Quebec justice system would collapse under fear. In 2001, Operation Springtime resulted in 139 arrests of Hells Angels members and associates across Canada. In 2002, Maurice Boucher was convicted of first-degree murder for ordering the deaths of the prison guards. He received 3 concurrent life sentences with no chance of parole for 25 years. The Quebec Biker War demonstrated how Canadian motorcycle clubs operate with the resources and organization of traditional mafia families. The Hells Angels coordinated with the Montreal Mafia, specifically the Rizzuto crime family, to control cocaine importation and distribution across the province. They created sophisticated puppet clubs, such as the Rockers and Evil Ones, to insulate full-patch members from prosecution. They recruited professional hitmen like Serge Quesnel, who was paid $500 per week plus $10,000 per murder. Quebec became known in the biker world as the Red Zone, the most dangerous place in North America for organized crime. An Outlaws hitman once said he was scared of going to Montreal. Canadian Hells Angels chapters today negotiate with street gangs rather than fight them. They learned from the Quebec Biker War that violence attracts attention and damages profits. They controlled territory through agreements, puppet clubs, and economic power. The war that killed 162 people, bombed 84 locations, and murdered government employees taught Canadian motorcycle clubs that sophisticated operations generate more revenue than bloodshed. Number 1. United States. Every outlaw motorcycle club in the world traces its roots to the United States. The patches, the hierarchy, the one-percenter identity, the three-piece rocker, all of it was invented in America. When the Hells Angels formed in Fontana, California, on March 17, 1948, they created the template that every club from Brazil to Japan would copy. The United States doesn't just have the most powerful motorcycle clubs, it invented them, and 77 years later, America still controls global outlaw motorcycle culture through organizations so sophisticated that they operate like multinational corporations. The Hells Angels are the most recognized motorcycle club in history and operate 6,000+ members across 592 chapters in 66 countries. The Bandidos, founded in San Leon, Texas, in 1966, expanded to 3,500 members in 303 chapters in 22 countries, making them the world's second-largest club. The Outlaws, established in 1935, are the oldest outlaw motorcycle club on Earth, operating over 700 members across 176 chapters, primarily dominating the Great Lakes region. Together with the Pagans, these Big Four clubs generate an estimated $1 billion in illegal income annually, where outlaw motorcycle gangs control 40% of the dangerous drug traffic in the United States. They run weapons trafficking operations, prostitution networks, extortion rackets, and contract killing services with organizational structures that law enforcement struggles to penetrate. But what truly demonstrates the power of American motorcycle clubs isn't just the numbers or the revenue. It's what happened in broad daylight at a Texas restaurant when two clubs went to war. It was May 17, 2015. when nearly 200 bikers converged on the Twin Peaks restaurant in Waco, Texas, for a regional meeting. The Cossacks had already arrived when the Bandidos showed up. 18 Waco police officers and 4 state troopers were positioned outside, monitoring the gathering. They knew trouble was coming. Around 12:15 p.m., a fight started. Surveillance cameras captured everything. Bikers exchanged fire with pistols in the parking lot. Then automatic weapons opened up. Families dining at nearby restaurants dove for cover as bullets zinged through the air. The firefight lasted approximately 2 minutes. When it ended, 9 bikers lay dead, 7 Cossacks, 1 Bandito, and 1 unaffiliated rider. 18 others were wounded. Law enforcement arrested 177 people at the scene on identical charges of engaging in organized criminal activity, setting bonds at $1 million each. It was the deadliest biker shootout in United States history. The conflict wasn't about drugs or money. It was about a patch. The Bandidos, founded in Texas, maintain strict control over which clubs can wear the Texas bottom rocker on their vests, the patch that claims territorial ownership. The Cossacks, a smaller club expanding across East Texas, started wearing the rocker without Bandidos' permission. According to federal indictments, Bandidos National Vice President John Portillo declared the club was at war with the Cossacks beginning in 2013. Police had intelligence that violence was likely. They positioned officers outside with rifles. When the shooting started, they joined in, firing on armed bikers and killing at least 4 of the 9 dead. 177 bikers were arrested. But the prosecution failed to prove their case, and ultimately, not a single person was convicted. All charges were dropped in 2019 after a 4-year prosecutorial fiasco. Only 1 biker went to trial, Christopher Jake Carrizal, president of the Bandidos Dallas chapter. His trial ended in a mistrial. Prosecutors gave up. The clubs walked away. The Bandidos still control Texas territory. The Cossacks still wear the Texas rocker. And nobody was held accountable for the deadliest biker shootout in American history. That's American motorcycle club power. The ability to engage in open warfare in a restaurant parking lot in broad daylight, kill 9 people, wound 18 more, and face 0 legal consequences. Because the system couldn't convict even with video evidence and hundreds of witnesses. Over 300 active outlaw motorcycle gangs operate in the United States, ranging from single chapters with 5 members to international organizations with thousands. The Mongols seized Southern California from the Hells Angels in the 1980s through alliances with street gangs. The Pagans control the East Coast with connections to the Italian Mafia and Aryan Brotherhood. The Sons of Silence dominate the mountain states. Black Pistons operate as the Outlaws recruitment pipeline, with 70+ chapters. Every country on this list learned from America. They imported American clubs, copied American structures, and adopted American traditions. And 77 years after the Hells Angels formed in a California parking lot, the United States still does it better than anyone else. The United States didn't just build the most powerful motorcycle clubs. It built a system that every other country copies. Every country on this list learned from America. They copied the clubs, the structure, and the traditions. But what happens when these clubs collide head-on with old-world organized crime? Click the next video and watch how the war unfolds.